Black's Law Dictionary, seventh edition. Seventh edition. All right, let's look at Indian, man. Indian country. This is crazy, right? So, the land within the borders. Oh, the land within the borders of all Indian reservations. So, when we think Indian country, you would think that's the natural land the Creator gave to the Indians, right? Indigenous people of India, superior, boss. But nah, in their law, in their language, in their English, it's all the land within the borders of all Indian reservations. We're going to get to Indian reservation. The land occupied by an Indian community, whether or not located within a recognized reservation, and any land held in trust by the United States government. You know how much land they got in trust? I mean, last time we checked, it was over 770 million acres. 770 million acres of Indian land that they're holding in trust by the United States, but beneficially owned by an Indian. An Indian. That's one person. Right? A chief, an Indian, right? A tribe. So they could have 700 million acres of this Indian's land, of an Indian, or the tribe, and it's in trust, and it's technically Indian country, but they're just gonna call it a reservation now, right? All right, any region where a person was likely to encounter Indians is also Indian country. Wow, so America basically, right? Indian land owned by the United States. So Indian land ain't even Indian land. It's land owned by the corporation, right? Owned by the United States, but held in trust. So I said they got 770 million acres of Indian land held in trust. That is Indian land by definition. Because Indian land by definition is your land, Naga land that's held in trust. Whose trust? For and used by American Indians. For, yeah, okay. They're just talking about those that they recognize, and we could have a whole nother soliloquy talking about who they recognizing and who they ain't recognizing. Because the invader ain't gonna recognize the true. The invader's not gonna recognize you. The invaders is gonna recognize those people working with the invader. Those people working with the Confederacy, Psalms 83, right? What's an Indian reservation, boss? An area that the federal government has designated for use by an American Indian tribe. So the government has to designate where a reservation is. All right, I mean, we get that. Where the tribe generally settles and establishes a tribal government because it's been forced to move to an area. Got you. Indian Territory, a former U.S. territory, now a part of the state of Oklahoma. All right, you know about the Trail of Tears, my nigga, go dig on it. To which the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Seminole, or Seminole were forcibly, we just said you was forcibly removed, right? Relocated between 1830 and 1843, right? That's Tecumseh War time period, right? That's Chickamauga, Cherokee, you know what I mean? That's the Creek Wars, Seminole Wars, like they saying, right? So the late 19th century, most of its territory was ceded to the hijack government, right? They got your land in a trust, but it's still Indian land, right? 1907, the greater part of it became the state of Oklahoma. All that is Indian territory, but we know that's just what they have designated, right? Indian title, a right of occupancy that the federal government grants to an American Indian tribe based on the tribe's immemorial, that means you always been there, possession of the area. Immemorial, man. It's beyond memory, man. That's how long you been there. You already have a title granted by the Creator, but the hijack now has to give you, the government has to grant you this American Indian title, this tribal title, even though you've been there since immemorial, you possess the area. Damn. But now you got to be granted by the hijack, by the invader. Indian tribe, man, a group, band, or nation, or other organized group of indigenous American people Well, that's Drop Nation. I mean, that's all the Nagas coming together as a group who know that they're indigenous. But wait, there's more, right? Including Alaskan Native, recognize. Oh, that is the key word is recognize. So still, you got to be recognized as eligible for the special programs and services. You got to be recognized as eligible for the special programs and services provided by the U.S. government because of Indian status, yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada, yada. Any such group having federally recognized governing body. So you can have your own governing body, but they want it to be recognized by the invader. So those doing the invasion on American soil that are not natives here, that think they can invade us forever, take our territories, take our titles, take our land, and say it's land owned by them. What's Indian land? Land owned by the hijack. What's Indian country? Oh, any land within the borders of these places granted and designated and forcibly relocated, forcibly removed from your sovereign areas. What's a tribe? Any group that's recognized by the hijack. Any group of indigenous Nagas that gotta play the game. You put down your bow and arrows according to the Geneva Code, Geneva Convention. You're supposed to be granted all these things that any civilized person would get. These reservations are not a hookup. It's because you stopped fighting because you put down your bow and arrows. This welfare ain't no hookup. It's because you stopped fighting. They supposed to hook you up as an Indian in Indian country. But if you think you're African and just got off a boat and you're a foreigner to this land, you have no rights, you have no titles, you have no territory, you have no heritage to claim in America. Cause you thinking you just got off a boat from Africa. Cause they reclassified you as colored, black, and African American. But you're the Indian they found here. The Indian with titles and land that they now got in a trust. A territory that they've invaded and they think they can invade forever, man. We're in the Black's Law Dictionary, boss. Wow.